Within every hobby and collector's group, there is the rarest, most sought-after item. In baseball cards, it's the 1909 to 1911 T206 Honus Wagner card, which is sold for $2.8 million at auction. Within the original pay-to-win game Magic the Gathering, it's the Alpha Black Lotus, which I'm sure most of you have heard of before, which is sold for over $10,000 up to $27,000 at auction. And in the stamp collecting community, it's the British Guiana 1 cent magenta, which has gone for $9.48 million at auction. And as you can probably guess, Nerf has its own rarest blaster. But what is it? To find out, I got in contact with someone who I knew would have the answers, a Nerfer by the name of Triple B, who calls himself the Nerf Curator, and this is for pretty good reasons. Over the years, this guy's gotten his hands on a lot of rare and exclusive blasters, and is pretty knowledgeable with the histories behind them. So I asked him, what would he consider to be the holy trinity of rare blasters? And this doesn't include things like promotional items like the Comic-Con exclusive Transformer Barricade. And the number 3 spot, he said it was the Supermax Ball Blaster, a Supermax air blaster that can shotgun a massive amount of balls at once, or burst fire them a couple of times in a row. I've actually done a review on this blaster, and if you want to check it out, you can see it right here. In the second place spot is the SuperTech 9000. This is a very well-known blaster amongst vintage collectors because of how rare it is. It's basically a rarer, dart-only version of the Supermax 5000, and while vintage collecting has gone downhill, this blaster is still very legendary. And in the number 1 spot, we have this thing. This is a Supermax 1500 arrow shooter which came out in 1994 and apparently retailed for $24.99. If you think the crossbow is rare or the Stinger Raven is rare, this thing puts those to absolute shame, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised if you've never heard of this blaster before. The Supermax 1500 arrow shooter works like other Supermax air blasters where you pump up the blaster to fill an air tank, which is open when you pull the trigger. With the arrow shooter, the turret on the front spins around during the trigger pull like a maverick, lining up the barrel before it fires, and you can make this happen as many times as you want without firing the blaster. To fire it though, you just pull the trigger all the way back until it makes a click sound. For a little firing demonstration, I don't have any of the original missiles on hand, but I do have a Demolisher rocket and a Triple Strike missile. I did also have a Big Bad Bow arrow, but that fits looser than these, and these fit rather loosely. Now, even with the original missiles on hand, I would not expect this thing to shoot very far because it is a blaster from the 90s, and we all know how well those things shoot. As I said earlier, Triple B and others for that matter consider this blaster to be the holy grail of blasters, but how rare is it exactly? To give you an idea, before I purchased this one, there were only 3 to have been known as being photographed in possession by the people on Nerf Haven, making this one the 4th. Funny enough, however, after I bought this one on eBay, another one came up and was purchased by a Nerfer named Lucian. However, he thinks that his might be the same one that is featured in this video that's been up on YouTube for quite some time, because his doesn't rotate on the trigger pull, and we never see the arrow shooter in the video rotate on the trigger pull. So there's still maybe only 4 in possession that we know of. Obviously, there might be some in some attics or closets or storage units. And even if there are 5, if Lucian's turns out to be different than the one that's in the video, does that drop this below the title of Holy Grail for rare Nerf blasters? I don't really know, because the SuperTech 9000 is also extremely rare and very, very hard to find, and there's so little quantity of them that we know of being in possession by Nerfers. It really competes with this blaster, but still this thing is super duper extremely rare. Obviously, the arrow shooter might be pushed out of position for the most collectible or rarest blaster by something else, only time will tell, but for now, as far as I know, this is the rarest blaster out there. A big thank you goes to Triple B for answering my simple question and giving me some information on this blaster. If you want to check out his channel, there will be a link in the description below. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned a little something about a blaster you may have never heard of or seen before. And as always, have a great day wherever you are.